Welcome back to Nebraska Hawks Nest. We are joined right now by the man, the myth, the legend, Hawkeye Elvis himself. How are we doing today?
Hey man, I'm doing pretty good. Just hanging out here in the black and gold jungle room and enjoying a nice quiet Saturday.
Man, you're still looking great, even in football off season, but not off season for basketball. So we got a mission yet we got to accomplish this year. So hopefully we can get the W tomorrow and keep climbing in the rankings and hopefully get a top 2 or 3 seed in the tournament.
We're seated number 2. I saw by Lenardi right now, so I'm fine with. I don't know we're gonna catch Gonzaga or Baylor, but you know what? 2 seeds fine with me.
Yeah, I think Baylor might be unbeatable. That team is insanely good. And Gonzaga's pretty dang tough too. But I think what usually happens with Gonzaga is they get used to the competition level in conference play being so much lower. And then they got to play a big boy and they get kind of slapped in the face and they're not used to that adversity like an Iowa team is playing in the Big Ten, which is such a deep, deep conference.
You know, everybody was freaking out a couple weeks ago when we lost. We lost 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 or something like that. And Jabo had a great point. He said when his brother's Wisconsin team, went to the Final Four, they had a stretch where they lost 4 or 5 in the middle of February because the Big Ten Conference is the hardest basketball conference in Division I. So, if a couple of losses there gets us deeper into March, then it's worth it.
Why you brought that topic up, what are your thoughts on Bohannon this season? Doesn't seem like he's having offensively as great of a season as he typically does. Not shooting quite as well from outside. Do you feel like teams are really, hammering down on him and focusing more on him, or is he just not shooting great right now?
Well, we haven't needed him to. The nice thing about this team is the way Wieskamp has really come on three-point shooting. And even with Frederick being on the floor, Frederick's a threat anytime he's there.
Yeah.
The bad part about Jabo being around for as long as he has is he doesn't get open looks the way he used to.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. He's not shot hunting. He's letting shots come to him. But if he'd be the first one to tell you that if he doesn't score a single point in a game and we win, who cares?
Yeah.
We've got other guys who can score. I mean, look at what happened to Michigan State. We had Connor go off for 16 when Luke, didn't need Luka to score 30 that night. Everybody else stepped up. And that's one of the great things about this team is it doesn't have to be the same guy every night. You're always going to get Luka night in, night out. Some nights it's going to be Wieskamp. Some nights it'll be Connor. Some nights Jabo will hit 6 threes and it'll go from there. So it's whatever the team needs. So no, I think he's fine.
All right. Good to know. I like the expert insight from Hawkeye Elvis. I needed to see what your thoughts were, and you get some pretty amazing seats sometimes. So you're able to get a great perspective, and you're going to be able to make it up to the game this Sunday. Then is that correct?
That is. I will. I am fortunate enough to be connected family-wise to Iowa basketball and have some good friends and family there, so that I actually do get to be in the building on Sunday and see Lucas score those 14 points and take over the scoring record.
That's going to be awesome. Great moment for us, and I look forward to seeing you on the sidelines. I'm going to hope. Are you going to be in full gear for the game?
No, I'm saving that for the Big Ten. Now that fans are going to get into the Big Ten and NCAA tournaments, I've said I'm not going full jumpsuit until everybody can come back. At least have some fans in the building. So no jumpsuit appearances until we get other fans back in. But I'm looking forward to March.
And so I was looking, and I see that you are actually related to Coach McCaffrey's wife. What's her thoughts been on the rise of Hawkeye Elvis and how popular you become?
It's fun. I didn't set out for any of this to happen this way. I've had season football tickets for 16 years, and I went to the 09 game against Indiana, the Tyler Sash pinball interception game, if you will.
Okay.
And that game was on Halloween, and everybody in the stands had these awesome Iowa and Hawkeye themed costumes. And so I went back to my mom's house. I said, "Mom, I need you to make me an Elvis jumpsuit, but make it Iowa themed." And so a year later, Mom and I went to the game on October 30th. That was the Tyler Sash lateral to Micah Hyde game.
Okay.
And
Michigan State.
Yeah, and I busted out the wig and the sunglasses and the jumpsuit, and everybody loved it. And I'd actually gone over to Carver that morning to see Fran and Margaret. Margaret's my cousin, and Fran cracked up when he saw the whole get-up. So I wore it to one football game, and then I'd wear it to one basketball game. Then I'd wear it to 1 or 2 football games and 1 or 2 basketball games. And then when I wouldn't wear it, people would be like, "Hey, where's Elvis? We need him. So
Yeah.
more times than not, I'm dressed up for the game. But both Margaret and Fran have been great about it. And actually, the university's been fantastic with, how they've supported and sort of, let some crazy guy dress up as Elvis with Tiger Hawks on it. I've had a lot of fun with it, and I've been able to make a lot of friends from it too.
No, it's fantastic. I think everybody loves it. And then if anybody has a problem with it, they're insane. So you could stay home because I think
it's just it's fun for me, and it's fun. When it stops being fun for the people that I go to the games with, that's when I'll stop. But people still get a kick out of it, and I still enjoy it, so I'm gonna keep doing it.
Oh, heck yeah. There's been some games where I've noticed that I see it out there, whether it be football, usually obviously it's football, and the weather's a little bit warmer outside. Does it get pretty hot in that suit? And I would assume it would emit an odor after a while. That has to be kind of uncomfortable.
For the cold games, this is like, the jumpsuits are like a pair of Carhartts, and this
Okay.
wig is the best stocking hat money can buy. The Outback Bowl where we beat Mississippi State was the hottest I think I've ever been. And that was a rough one, but fortunately, I've got like a steam cleaner, so I can steam clean the jumpsuits after
right.
warm days like that. So, but yeah, I've had some hot days in that thing.
Okay. I was going to ask you too. In my opinion, the one moment where you really kind of broke out and everybody started to know who you were was the Iowa North Carolina basketball game back in 2014. You were on the sidelines, you were in a ton of camera shots, and I'm telling you, man, your money on the camera, straight money. It's fantastic. Tell me about how your life changed after that moment, being on so often during that game, and then also what was the atmosphere like in the Dean Dome, being able to pull out that victory and you being such a center of attention in the crowd?
It's funny because my friends call me the Forrest Gump of Iowa athletics because I happened to be there in the background when all these big moments happen. That was really interesting because I've got three friends who are all lawyers in Atlanta, and two of them went to Iowa, one went to North Carolina. And when we all found out Iowa was going to be playing, they were like, "Oh, we have to go to the game." So us three Iowa guys got together, and then our friend Summy from North Carolina, he was a great host. We stayed at the Carolina Inn on campus, and we splurged, and we managed to get seats right behind the basket in the front row, which is crazy. So I'm in my full getup, and the people in Chapel Hill didn't know what to exactly think of me. And so we walk into the Dean Dome. I start marching right down to the floor, and the guy's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Trust me." And when you're dressed like Elvis, you can kind of go wherever you want. So I just marched right down to the floor, walked up to Fran, saw him, gave him a hug, talked for a minute. And then we had those seats for the game. And the funny thing about that play was the game's tied. Gazelle drives down the lane, gets fouled. He lands at my feet, but I'm not watching him. I'm watching the ball because it's rolling around and then went in. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And by that time, Woody had picked him up and they're all screaming and stuff. I didn't know about the picture until we're walking back to go out that night, and my friend Ryan goes, "Oh, Greg, you got to see this." I'm like, "What?" And he showed me that picture. I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" And then it was on the front page of the Register and every other newspaper in the state of Iowa the next morning, and it kind of took off from there. And like I said, I've been fortunate. I've been really fortunate and blessed to sort of be in the right place at the right time a lot of times.
No, that was a very cool moment. And did those North Carolina fans, were they really on top of you? Did they give you a hard time? Because in the ACC, basketball was king for a long time. That's kind of shifted to the Big Ten, the last 3 to 5 years. But, the ACC, they're pretty passionate. That's basketball country out there.
The fun thing about that game was it was more like a bowl game for football where you don't have a lot of history with the other team. You don't play them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, it was pretty good natured, walking there. And then after the game, too, it was a lot of fun. The guys who were sitting behind us were giving us kind of a hard time, but they shut up real quick after we won the game and they left even faster.
Yeah, that tends to shut them up once we pull out the victory. So talking with a lot of people over the years, fan bases, college fan bases have some what they call celebrity fans that really stand out. Ohio State has Big Nut, and we have Hawkeye Elvis, which I think is pretty cool. How does it feel to be considered a kind of an Iowa Hawkeye fan celebrity?
It's funny because I never set out. This was not my goal. I didn't set out to have it become all this. And the fact that it has been wonderful. And I've been able to make some fantastic friendships from doing this. And in a couple of cases, actually do some good with this. I had one guy reach out to me and go, "Hey, does Hawkeye Elvis do appearances?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you have in mind?" And a guy in Adair, Iowa, doing a car show, he said, "Hey, we'd like to have Hawkeye Elvis show up." I said, "Okay, I'll come down." He goes, "Well, what do you charge?" I go, "Nothing." He's like, "Oh, we got to charge something." I said, "Tell you what, let's do a fundraiser, and any money we make, we'll give to the Children's Hospital." And we did, and it was actually pretty successful. So I went back the second year, and we did the same thing again. So, that was just something that happened organically, and we were able to have a lot of fun and have some good come out of it. So, I enjoy. I'm not going to lie, I enjoy. All the perks that sort of come along with the jumpsuit and the sunglasses, but at the same time, I'm mindful that I'm unofficially representing the state of Iowa and the Hawkeyes, and I want to make sure I do that with pride.
Yeah, well, we're definitely very proud to have you as our unofficial mascot. Definitely like a close second from Herky. Herky's always going to be number one no matter what, but
Oh yeah.
You're right there. I really would like to see, in football games, them get you down on the sideline once in a while, and you do a little bit of some interactive stuff with Herky. I know a lot of fans have been like, we need to see Hawkeye Elvis out here on the field for something like. So I'm hoping, at some point the university would maybe reach out to you and get you out on the field. Do you think there's a possibility of something like that happening?
We did that a few years ago, 2015. Way back in January, I had a friend of mine go, "Hey, if we did a Hawkeye themed or Elvis themed halftime show, would you be interested?" And I said, "Yes." So I actually was fortunate to do the halftime show in 2015 against Illinois. We had a whole dance. I had to come down and practice with the women on the dance team because we had this whole choreographed thing. And they played Elvis music, and I did this whole dance routine with Herky and the dance team. It was fantastic and so much fun. And I'm game for that anytime they want to do it again.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That sounds pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun.
Hopefully they'll do something like that again, because that sounds awesome. We need more. We all need more Hawkeye Elvis in our lives, for sure. I was going to ask you, with all the different fan bases that you've interacted with, who is the absolute worst, most toxic fan base that has just let you have it, and maybe one that's like maybe the most friendly, the opposite end of the spectrum?
I very rarely dress up on the road. Bowl games I'm always going to do. Bowl games are fun because it's an exhibition game. There's sort of a good-naturedness between the fan base, and so that's always been the case. I'll always dress up for football games up here. I live in Minnesota, and I've worn it to several Minnesota football games, and they're very good-natured about it. The only time I wore it to Ames was a couple of years ago. That lightning delayed game.
Okay.
I'm down there for game day. I'm walking around, and my friends and I are walking by, and we had one kid who'd been on the radio goes, "Hey, Hawkeye Elvis." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "F you." I'm like, "Okay, thank you." But I get it. They're passionate about it, but I don't know that I've ever had just any nastiness or anything like that. I mean, even a kid yelling "F you" at you while I'm walking by. Well, yeah, I'm going to get that. I'm a Hawkeye in the middle of Ames. Like, I understand.
Yeah.
So, but no, for the most part, it's good fun, and everybody treats it like that.
Tell us a little bit about when you were younger. How did you become a Hawkeye fan? I feel like most big time passionate Hawkeye fans have a little bit of a story where the black and gold put their hooks in them, and they get a hold of your heartstrings and they never let go. You could have very easily become a Cyclone fan, which would have been awful, but nobody wants that. So tell us a little bit about how you got your passion for the black and gold.
My hometown's Ogden. I'm 20 miles from Ames, and I had a lot of my friends were Cyclone fans growing up. But I grew up in that era, but when I really started paying attention to sports, you had Hayden Fry come in and take over the Iowa football team and create the Tiger Hawk. You had Lute Olson taking Iowa to the Final Four with Ronnie Lester. And, when you're from Iowa and you don't have a pro sports team, you latch onto the big colleges. And at that time, you had Iowa athletics, really big nationally, maybe not so much quite football for a year or two, but certainly with basketball, Lute, and just, all that black and gold and the Tiger Hawk, I was drawn to it like a lot of people were. And I became a fan of Iowa at that point. And It's something that once you sort of start, you don't let go of it. And I've been fortunate; I've been able to be a fan and enjoy a lot of these kids' success along the way.
Yeah, well, the cool part about it is, and I know you probably don't think of this, but a big part of your success has been due to your good naturedness and how cool you are with the fans. I think everyone I talk to has a Hawkeye Elvis story where they've come to you, asked for an autograph, asked for a picture, and you're more than willing to take time for every single fan that comes up and wants to say hi and talk to you. So, it's not only what you're doing is freaking awesome with the Hawkeye Elvis stuff. It's so cool, but just how gracious of a person that you are. It has really helped grow that as well, because if you were a prick to everybody, they'd be like, oh, there's that Hawkeye Elvis guy. What a jerk he is. Like, don't talk to him. He's like the old Elvis that was going down the hill, not the young fun Elvis.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. And, if I've had people like, is it okay if I take your picture? And I said, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to wear this out in public and not expect people to not want to get a picture, not necessarily with me or just take a picture of me. So if you're going to do this and do it in public, you better be ready for everything that comes with it.
Oh yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm not messing around with you. I was a little starstruck when you first popped on. I'm like, oh damn, it's Hawkeye Elvis. Oh wow, I'm not kidding. I legit was. So it's definitely got that wow factor.
So I appreciate this. So funny story. So because Margaret's my cousin, I've known Fran and Margaret forever. I mean, when they were coaching at UNC Greensboro, they played up here in Minnesota, and a bunch of us got UNC Greensboro shirts and went to the game when he was coaching at Siena.
Okay.
And we'd see Fran and Margaret in the summer. There's a great picture when my wife was pregnant with my son. Margaret was pregnant with Marit, her daughter, at the same time. We got pictures of all that at my dad's house. And after Fran got the Iowa job, the first time I saw them, Margaret's younger sister was getting married, and so we went to the wedding. I was nervous about seeing Fran. And my family was like, what is wrong with you? What, you've met him, you've known him, you've been around him. Like, yeah, but he wasn't the coach of the Hawkeyes, and now he is. So I was nervous to be around Fran again, even though I'd been around the man a lot, just because now he was the head coach of the Hawkeyes.
That must have been a pretty cool moment in your household when, I can't even imagine what it would be like to have a close relative like that all of a sudden become the head coach of one of the biggest programs at your favorite university, one of your favorite teams. How did that feel? Obviously, like you said, there was some nerves involved, but you had to be pretty jacked for that.
I was driving home. I was down in Iowa for that weekend. I'm driving home, and my stepmom calls me while I'm driving, and she goes, "Pull over." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "No, I need you to pull over." I'm like, "Oh my God, someone died." And she goes, Fran got the job at Iowa. I'm like, ah! I was just so excited because, to be a fan of a program that I've watched since I was a kid, and then now to be fortunate enough to have some of the just behind the curtain access to the program through family connections has been wonderful. And I've really enjoyed it. And I'm so appreciative of that and everything that Fran and Margaret have done for the team and the program.
It was a great moment for everybody when Fran got the job because Iowa basketball was on life support. I think that might have been during the Licklider era, the only two. He was there for 3 years. So I had high hopes the first year going and even into the second year. And then there for about a year and a half, I didn't watch Iowa basketball because it was so unwatchable. What, say that again?
And said it was rough during that stretch, especially, because I lived in Denver in 98 and 99. And at the time I was, a friend of mine was the SID at Denver University.
Okay.
And they were the host school for the NCAA tournament in 99. And I had been the official scorer for DU men's basketball that season.
Okay.
So I was one of the extra scorers that were on hand for the first and second round games at Nichols Arena that year. And that was Jeff Settle's 6th year. And we really beat Arkansas to go to the Sweet 16. And so I got to sit courtside for that game and watch that and just soak all of that in. And the fun part was afterwards, there are 2 bars called the Sports Column. One's in Iowa City, the other one's in downtown Denver. And all the Iowa fans went to the Sports Column in downtown Denver after the game. It was just a blast.
No, that's awesome. Tell us a little bit about with you being close to Coach McCaffrey. And obviously being related to his wife, when the FranCon meter starts rising and climbing up and he starts getting real fiery, he's, in his defense, he's been so much more calm, I feel like, this year, a lot more dialed back than usual. Do you hear anything through the family about Fran getting upset? I got to admit, I love it when he gets fired up like that because it gets me jacked up.
You know, it's funny, and all of his players have said this, his kids have said this. He's a really calm guy,
Yeah.
you know, when he's not coaching a game. You know, it's fun I've had the opportunity to sit really close behind the bench for a few games. And, you know, if you want to get calls like Izzo's got for 20 years, you got to work the refs.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't think Fran's I think there's maybe been a couple times where he wasn't trying to get a technical, because, you know, coaches will do that. They'll try to get a technical sometimes, because it shows his kids that they have his back, you know, that he has their back.
Yeah.
And every player will tell you that too, is that, Coach McCaffrey has his players back at all times. So it's been fun to sit behind the bench a couple times and listen to him work the refs, and then listen to him coach his guys too. One game at Minnesota, I was sitting down behind the bench pretty close. Peter Jock had been really late on his defensive rotations, and Fran let him know about it when he came out of the game. He's like, "Where were you?" And then another time when Isaiah Moss had come off the floor, he turns to Moss and goes, "Listen, that wasn't your fault. You did exactly what you were supposed to do." So, you know, his players love him, and that's enough. You know, if the kids that he coaches love him and will stick with him, then, you know, he's doing something right.
Yeah, that fire that he has is contagious, and I absolutely love it. I know most Iowa fans love it too because it gets us all jacked up, and we get fired up. And I if I'm at the game, I start screaming and yelling. My heart rate picks up, and if I'm at home, I'm yelling too. I'm like, "Get him, Fred! Come on, baby!" You know, it's infectious. It's pretty cool.
But you see sometimes real quick too.
Yeah.
You see that work. You see him go after a ref for blowing a call. How often do you see the makeup call a minute or two later?
Yeah.
So it works.
Yeah. Well, it's great coaching. He's been in the game for a long time, and I'm sure learned a lot. And he's been successful pretty much everywhere he's been. So the guy clearly knows what he's doing. So we wanted to ask you real quick too about you know, with your persona. I'm sure, you know, it's really given you the opportunities to have some relationships with people that you maybe wouldn't have had a chance to. One of those being Frank Garza. Anyone that's had an opportunity to interact with him, he is a one of a kind, genuine dude. I told him we're officially adopting him as a Iowa resident. He's one of us now because, you know, that's one of those guys, you know, you meet people every once in a while in life, not too often, that you're like, I'm pretty lucky to know that person. That is a really great individual. Frank, in my opinion, is one of those guys. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Frank Garza.
Well, I love the man, and he's fantastic. And if you think about what he did, he gave his son to a state that Luke had never been to Iowa before. I mean, he's an East Coast kid without any ties to Iowa. And you take one of your most precious things, your kids, and you give them to someone else for 4 years. And that, you know, that's a big step right there. And I think that says a lot about Fran and the trust that the players' parents have in him. It's fun because, again, I've had the opportunity to sit with the parents a lot of times, and the parents are great. And I've been fortunate to develop some friendships with a lot of them, including Frank. And I've known Frank for a couple of years. And boy, the more he and I get to talk and interact, just the more we click. And he's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to you know, hanging out with him and following Luka into the NBA. And it's been a great ride. And just, you know, I can't say enough good things about the guy. You want to talk about a guy who's gracious and good natured? That's Frank Garza to a T, because you know, he has fans come up. Well, you know, last year and the year before, you know, he's coming up and people are wanting a picture with him. And he's just, you know, the things that he's done to prep Luka and you know, give him all the skills and tools he's needed to get where he is. I mean, Frank's put in all those hours in the gym right there along with him.
Well, good people attract good people. So that's probably how that, a lot of how that friendship goes. Good people like to be surrounded with other good quality people. So that's pretty cool to see a friendship like that blossom. And I'm sure he values that friendship just as much as you.
It was funny. Last year, yeah. So last year after one of the games, Frank and I hadn't like really been out together much. We talked quite a bit, but then it was after I think the Nebraska game or the Maryland game last year. I was in Iowa City for the night, and then Frank and I went out together, and people would like see us and go, "Wait, they know each other? Oh my goodness!" It kind of lose their mind a little bit. It was a lot of fun.
It's like worlds collide. Like you first time you see, you guys are Hawkeye celebrities. So, and I told him that too. And it's like you go out and you see like two, people, someone in LA or Hollywood, you go out to dinner and you see two celebrities that you never knew were friends sitting next to each other. It's like, holy crap, those guys are friends. That's so cool. Oh, that's awesome. That makes for a lot of good stories. I'm sure they were telling their friends. I went out to the bar and saw Hawkeye Elvis and Luca Garza's dad. How cool was that?
There have been a few times where I've gone out in full. I don't do it very often, but after like a big win or something, it's fun because I've got a nephew and niece who both go to Iowa too, and so it's a lot of fun to go out with them on the town after a win. And all these college kids are out, and here's my 50-year-old ass dressed up as Elvis walking around in wig and sunglasses in a back bar, and people are like don't know what to make of it or just enjoying it.
Look pretty damn good for 50 though, man.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Hey, we wanted to officially invite you this year at the Iowa-Nebraska football game in Lincoln. We're going to have a Nebraska Hawks Nest tailgate, and we want to send out an official invitation for Hawkeye Elvis to come by and have a few beers with us, maybe play some bags and hang out and say hi to all the big Hawkeye fans from Western Iowa and Nebraska.
I would love to do that. I'll check my travel schedule, schedule rather, and see what I can do to get on there. I will tell you, I've been to games at Nebraska twice, and for as much sniping as our fan bases do at each other online and stuff, the people of Nebraska have been great. I've really enjoyed it, and they've been gracious. Welcome to Nebraska. Have a good time today. Good luck. All that stuff. So
yeah,
it's nice to see that people aren't really all that online nastiness kind of gets a reputation, but it's not really like that in real life.
The majority, because I've lived in Nebraska for probably 16, 17 years now. And the majority of Nebraska fans are pretty cool. They have a good natured, fun about all of it. You got your few bad ones, but so do we. We have our few bad ones too. So it's just how it is. And if I didn't get teased and get a little crap, it wouldn't be fun for me. Right. I thrive off that stuff. So, it was really cool. Nathan Budgeta, we did an interview with him. He told me he ran into me at a gas station about 10 miles from here. And I walked in wearing Hawkeye gear, and I didn't even recognize the guy. He was working out on the farm covered in dirt and grease. And he looked at me. He said, "Go Hawks." And he said, I turned around and I said, "Hell yeah, go Hawks." And I just walked out the door, and I'm like, "Nate, man, why didn't you say who you were?" He's such a humble guy.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't think anything of it. Like, and guys like him and Drew Ott, they're just such good dudes. Like that, they don't think of themselves as any better than anybody else. They're just another guy and another Hawkeye fan now at this point. So that was pretty cool. I'm like, man, Nate, you need to call me out on that. I didn't even recognize who you were at the gas station. And this town that I ran in, it's like a town of like 800 people, super small. So it's not like I ran into him at like a big gas station in like Omaha or Des Moines or something. So.
And I think that real quick, that speaks to the type of guys that come to Iowa and play there. I'll go to iClub events. A few years ago, they've got a Twin Cities iClub up here. My mom came up, and we go, and Chad Greenway was still playing with the Vikings.
Okay.
And, Chad Greenway is a star. I mean, at that point, he was Pro Bowl. And we're in this little bar in downtown Minneapolis, and Chad comes in. Everybody knows who he is. And you want to talk about a down-to-earth guy, who grew up on a farm playing 8-man in South Dakota to this NFL star, and everybody in the city knows him. And he just could not have been a more gracious and down to earth guy, and just, oh, hey, they're normal guys.
Yeah.
They're just normal guys who happen to be really good at playing sports.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky to be fans of such a great program with such quality people attached to it through the coaching staff, administration, and the players as well. So that's why I always tell people, like, I know Iowa is our NFL team, but you try if you're an NFL fan, you try talking to one of these NFL players or the administration for an NFL team or coaching staff, they're probably not going to give you the time of day. And being a Hawkeye fan, it's pretty awesome that, I'll go down to the locker room after the game and, Brian Ferentz is always one of the coolest guys. He sits and takes time to talk to us. Kirk will stop and say hi for a second. All the coaches and players they'll give you the time of day, and they genuinely appreciate you being there and supporting them. So that's awesome. Yeah. All right. Hawkeye Elvis, do you got any last minute moves you want to do for us? You got so many in the arsenal, so many cool things I've seen you do. Can you send us off with a little Hawkeye Elvis move?
I'm saving all the good ones for March, baby, because when I get to Indianapolis, man, I'm busting out the jumpsuit and we're gonna get that Final Four. You know what I mean?
I love it. Well, I hope to see you at the Final Four. That would be fantastic. Hawkeye Elvis,
we're going all the way, baby.
Let's do it. I'm on board. Let's get it done. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us, and have a great rest of the weekend. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.